Good morning and welcome to Hello Westchester here on WCHE every Monday from 11:30 to noon. I'm Eric Lambera, joined by Kara Corradoni, publisher of Hello Westchester. You can subscribe at hellowestchesterpa.com. Good morning, Kara. How are you this morning?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing well. Coming off the Super Bowl and an eventful weekend here. So a lot of things to get to in today's show. As always, we'll start off first with the Westchester Real Estate Market 2025 recap.
Yeah, so a lot going on last week. It was a jam-packed issue, but starting things off was kind of a recap of the real estate markets. Earlier last month, actually, at this point, Redfin Real Estate crunched the numbers on the state of Pennsylvania, and they determined the 20 most competitive real estate markets. Two of the markets listed were in Chester County. Phoenixville came in at number 18, and Westchester came in at number 16. And this is not really something that's likely to surprise anyone, certainly not anyone who has tried to buy or sell recently. Nearly 75% of all Westchester listings sold within 2 weeks, more than half of those over their asking price. But despite all that, if anything, when the real estate agents I talked to for this piece found that the market actually was maybe a little slower than it had been in years past, not quite the frenzy as one agent told me. And actually, there was some good news for buyers, especially when it came to things like inspections, which home inspections, which for a few years people were foregoing just to make their offer even a little more attractive. And according to Renee Ryan, an agent, around 78% of her buyers were able to include inspection contingencies on their offers. So that's really a positive sign. But I don't think we can go so far as to say it was a buyer's market. Definitely things moved quickly. We looked at some reports for both the Westchester Area School District and Westchester Borough. These reports were put together by another real estate agent, Cassie Shankweiler. She shares these reports regularly throughout the year, and then she did a kind of a year-end synopsis. And what she found is that home prices, property values continue to go up in both the Westchester Area School District and in the borough. Last year, the average home price in the Westchester Area School District was $744,000. This is a 14% increase over 2024. And in Westchester Borough, the average home sale price was $700,000, just a little over $708,000. And that is up from $605,000 in 2024. That's a 16.9% increase over the year. In both these areas, the properties move quickly. 21 days average on market in the larger school district area, and just 13 days on market in the Westchester Borough. The biggest difference between the two markets, though, is inventory and availability. What we see in the larger district, we saw 1,284 homes sold last year, whereas in Westchester Borough, we only saw, 141 homes sold. So, but of those, 80% were over asking price. So obviously having a little bit of a tighter market does, make it easier for the, I guess prices go a little bit higher. According to Cassie, she said both Westchester Borough and Westchester Area School District as a whole were very sought-after communities in 2025, and the most obvious difference is that the borough has just more limited inventory, which is true. And we look into that a little bit more in 2026. But in 2025, another insight we had came from another realtor, Keller Williams realtor, Andrea Napoli, and she shared her insight for 2025, and it was around pricing. And she shared a story where she said she worked with two very similar homes, same school district, same size, similar condition. One seller trusted the data and priced within the market range, and the home sold quickly with strong activity and clean terms. The other wanted to test a higher number, and the showing slowed almost immediately, she reported. Price reductions followed, and by the time the home sold, it closed for less than where it should have started. And she was, just pointing out that while the market is very strong and remains strong, you still want to respect the market and, not try to overprice. You will hit a ceiling. And I think that's a little bit what we're seeing, is strong activity, but maybe a ceiling on prices. But then again, 16% increases year over year. So we'll have to see if that continues. We may not have seen a ceiling yet. But what we are seeing, that was on 2025. And as we are early still-ish days of February, Cassie Shankweiler, who had done the original reports, was able to kind of look in at the start of January for us. And she said it's not what many predicted. She shares an interesting story, stating that many agents had predicted that with the lower interest rates would lead to more inventory. But that's not the case here. In the Westchester Area School District in March. I think I'm thinking of March. We're just hoping the warm weather will come. But January, there was just 94 homes on the market. And that's the lowest inventory in the district in 2 years. Normally, a balanced market would have 6 worths of homes listed. Westchester Area School District currently has just over 1 month. Very tight. And in the story in the borough is even dire. More dire is even lower. The borough ended January with only 3 homes on the market, Cassie shared. And you have to go back 10 years to January 2016 when there was only 2 homes on the market. And the next lowest was 7 homes in June. So she was just kind of blown away by that really tight inventory. She does have a theory on what may be going on, particularly in the borough. And it's something that, I think local officials may want to keep an eye on. But she speculates that many people who bought when interest rates were low are hesitant to sell now, especially as the property values continue to rise. So instead of selling, they are renting. So she was saying if they don't need to sell their home to make a down payment, they're just renting their homes for double the mortgage amount. So it's, in a good investment property for these homeowners, but at the same time, it puts further strain on Westchester Borough's housing inventory, which is already pretty low in compared to rentals anyway. So if we start losing homes as well as apartments, it's only going to get tighter. So she was encouraging anyone looking to sell. If you're hoping to wait for June, if you're ready, get it on the market now. There are buyers who are looking for homes. There just really isn't anything out there for them to see. If you are a buyer, the advice is to be patient. Market around here changes very quickly, so what we're seeing now may look very different by summer. And another piece of advice is kind of just, be patient, be prepared. The buyers who succeed won't necessarily be the most aggressive. So just some things to note if you're in the market for a new home, selling, or if you're trying to buy or sell around here. Some things to be aware of. The market is tight. If you are a homeowner not looking to sell, I guess it's good news. Property values continue to rise.
And as someone that's not a homeowner, I'm just looking at some of the values that you pointed out, and very high.
I was going to say it can be a little
intimidating.
Right? I would imagine.
Right.
I am glad we are sitting in a home, and we're probably not going to be leaving it anytime soon at the moment.
Right. So as Kara mentioned, property values continue to rise. Inventory is still a challenge. So the gist of the 2025 recap. Let's move over to the restaurant inspection reports, of course. Going into the second week here of February, and I know you had some reports from last month.
Yeah, so I told you, big issue. So not only was it real estate updates, we have restaurant inspection reports. For January, there were 13 organizations out of compliance with the Chester County Health Department last month, including several Westchester favorites. We won't go into all of them here today because the issue was large, but we will point out a few that were out. So Westchester Pizza Cafe at 701 West Neal Street was out. They had 8 violations, including sliced deli meats, cheeses, and sauces held longer than 7 days. Those were discarded during the inspection. They also had some food equipment that was stored while wet, and dishwashing racks that had visible debris on them, and an ice machine that was not clean to either side or touch. They were told to clean that immediately. Another one that was out, let's see, go to the Country Bagel Bakery on East Gay Street. They had 8 violations, including raw egg whites stored above ready-to-eat foods in the walk-in cooler, and ready-to-eat and time-sensitive foods being held for more than 24 hours without labels indicating when they were made or opened. There was some pre-cooked bacon that was held at 48 degrees rather than 41 as required. And there were some restricted-use pesticides and residential pest control devices that were found in the basement. They were told to get rid of those and turn to pest control professionals to take care of those issues. Bellington Westchester Dining Room, they were out. They had one of the higher amounts of violations. They had 15, including a potential leak downstairs. There was no paper towels at the hand wash sinks. The dairy at the coffee station was found at 60 degrees Fahrenheit rather than 41. They also had ready-to-eat foods that they were holding that they had used but didn't mark, so we don't know so they wouldn't know when they were open. There was house-made cocktail sauce, tartar sauce, and milk, all beyond their expiration dates. And there was quite a bit of cleaning that needed to be done, with a note that said facility must perform cleaning and implement a regular cleaning schedule. So that was done. 9 Prime was also out. They had 7 violations, including a buildup of biofilm on the soda gun holder, an open deli meats stored without a date indicating when they were opened, and staff seen cutting fruits for beverages with their bare hands. And then there was also some pork belly found at 49 degrees rather than 41 degrees as required. That was discarded. And I'll go to one more here. The Fiorello's Cafe on East Gay Street, they were out. They only had 2 violations, but they were kind of big ones, including raw clams and mussels observed in the Bain Marie without an identifying tag attached to the container. That needs to be secured with the shell stock. The shell stock tags need to remain attached to the seafood until it is used. The report reads, there was also light roach activity noted. It was witnessed in the main cook line. The restaurant is receiving pest control services, but they were told to continue to work on that to reduce and eliminate all roach activity.
So I guess for 2 violations you mentioned, pretty important ones.
Something you definitely want to get on top of. You don't want that getting out of control. And so those were out. So there's some of them. You can get the full report in the newsletter, as we mentioned before. We also like to highlight those back in again. So back in this month are Greystone Oyster Bar, Lorenzo's Steak and Hoagie, Old Original Nick's, Mino Sushi, Two Birds Cafe, Giant in East Goshen, Iceline, Dunkin' Donuts, Ryan's Pub, the Community Dinner at Cornerstone Fellowship Cafe, Tekka, Number 1 China Zhong Restaurant, Sabatino's Grill, the Salty Cow, and the Countryside Food Mart. And then a new little, group we started, the 100% Club. This was suggested as a reader recommendation last year, where we talk about the ones that had no violations. So first inspection, the inspections are random. They're not pre-announced or unannounced. So these are a couple that had absolutely no violations on their regular inspection. The Marshallton Inn on 1300 West Strasburg, which I think is impressive because that's like a full restaurant. Also, Old Barn Candy and Bulk Foods, a stand at the West Town Amish Market. And the Liberty Gas and Cigar Shop at 18 South High Street. So congratulations to them. Not a single violation.
Pretty impressive. And you mentioned, like to highlight some of the ones back in compliance as well, so doing their part. That takes us to the middle of the show here. We are at 11:45. We'll take a break, and we'll come back with much more on the other side. Stay with us. And welcome back to Hello Westchester. I'm Eric Lambera, joined by Kara Cordoni, publisher of Hello Westchester. Releases every Friday. You can subscribe at HelloWestchesterPA.com. So before we get to some quick updates, I know we had one more story, and that was Philadelphia chefs out at Ground Provisions.
Yeah, so Ground Provisions, along with Ondiario, tends to be the foodie destination around here. They both received acclaim from Philadelphia writers, kind of representing the greater region here. They were opened in 2023 from under the guise of Philadelphia restaurateurs Rich Landau and Katie Jacoby. Well, those two have quietly sold the restaurant Ground Provisions to two familiar faces. So the new owners are Nora Wilson and Brandon Behringer. They have worked with Kate and Rich on and off for a decade now, including the last 3 years in Dilworth Town at Ground Provisions. So if you are a Ground Provision regular, you probably are very familiar with both of these two individuals. Brandon has served as the chef de cuisine since the restaurant's opening in 2023, and he will continue in that role. Nora has pitched in everywhere from prep cook and server to kitchen manager, pastry chef, and general manager. She too will continue. She'll be working both as the restaurant's pastry chef and its general manager. So as they shared, their goal is to highlight local produce and create a seasonal vegetable-based tasting menus that rotate frequently. This is kind of the same mission that Ground Provisions has had and is known for. They're a vegan restaurant, and they really work to elevate that vegan experience. And it sounds like that will continue. They're going to also continue to work with the farmers that they have in the past. She named a few: Urban Roots, Green Meadow Farms, and Lancaster Farm Fresh. To get, for an opportunity, she said she thanked them for an opportunity to get creative and never get stuck doing the same thing. So you can continue to expect the rotating menus and really that exceptional take on vegan cuisine. We shared this on Friday, and we did hear from some readers who have been there, recently, and they attest to the fact that it is still as good as it was before. So yeah, it's a little disappointing to have kind of our little celebrity chefs or the name recognition of Rich and Katie, but it is also nice to know that the tradition will be continuing, and it sounds like they're in very good hands over there at Ground Provisions.
It does, and I'm even looking at the reviews, 4.9.
Yeah.
And we're talking a substantial amount of reviews. So Ground Provisions in new hands, but looks like still going very strong. So that was our story on Philadelphia chefs out at Ground Provisions. Let's go next to quick updates. The first one we'll go to is West Goshen moving forward with a new splash park.
Yes, so this is being planned for West Goshen's Township's Community Park. They've been working on this for a couple years now, but they recently approved another $308,000 in contracts to move forward this work. That includes $240,000 for construction of a family bathroom addition and around $70,000 for engineering services for the installation of the splash pad.
It looks like some big renovations there. And then going next to Westchester Borough here, debating ICE legislation.
Yeah, so that's a hot topic as of late. Westchester Borough seemingly wants to get a little bit ahead of it. They're introducing new legislation this week that would require that before the borough would enter into a 287G agreement with Immigration and
Customs
Enforcement. Thank you. That decision would need to first come through Borough Council. So instead of it just being agreed upon within the police department and with the mayor, it'd have to come before Borough Council. For those not up on immigration enforcement lingo, the 287G refers to Section 287G of the Immigration and Nationality Act. It indicates a partnership between ICE and local law enforcement agencies. Okay, so without this agreement, without this 287G, the responsibilities of ICE and local police departments, and for that matter, county police departments, is very much separate. They're distinguished. Local police departments are not required and do not enforce immigration laws. That is the responsibility of ICE. So they have no involvement unless one of these agreements is on the books, and that requires an MOU and a signed memorandum of understanding. In the case of this amendment that Westchester Borough is looking at, like I said, they want to make sure that before any such MOU is signed, that is reviewed at Borough Council meeting, in a public meeting, so it would get some visibility, and none of this is being done behind closed doors. It does not mean that the Westchester Borough Police Department couldn't move forward with such agreement if they decided that was, in the best interest of everyone, and if it was agreed to by Borough Council and the support of the public. It just means that it would get a meeting, or at least a public hearing, before it was done.
Yeah, and you mentioned definitely a hot topic. I know last week there was an incident in Phoenixville. Chester County officials issued a statement on that. We'll see what happens here in Westchester. Let's go next to 2 local park projects that will be getting state funding.
Yeah, so congratulations to East Bradford, which is receiving $335,000 to expand the Plum Run Trail, approximately 0.3 of a mile. It'll go, once completed, it'll go from Teague Road of the Plum Run Preserve to the Rockwell Field Athletic Complex. In addition to just extending that, they're also going to be doing some stormwater management projects, adding ADA access, landscaping, signage, and all that kind of stuff. And then in Westtown, they received $75,000, which is what they were kind of looking for, to help prepare a master site development plan for the 204-acre Craybelly Preserve. So I know they were looking for that. So that's good news for them.
So some much-needed upgrades there. My mic was off. Let me go next to right down the street from us here in Westchester, Lorenzo's and Sons up for sale.
Yes, so
now this is a pizza place.
This is the pizza
for listeners, because multiple Lorenzo's.
Yes, and I did get that question a few times.
From me included.
Yes, exactly. Looks like I left out an R in Lorenzo. Anyway, the point is Lorenzo and Sons Pizza on Gay Street here is up for sale. It was purchased in 2014 by Joe Palizzi. He bought the window-fronted building. He had renovated it and brought in Lorenzo's and Sons Pizza. It's kind of for their, suburban hub of the Philadelphia outlet. It has been here since, but it is now, the building and the business are for sale under the header Best Corner in Westchester. The listing includes a fully renovated building, high-profile signage, and a turnkey restaurant on iconic corner. They're asking $2.989 million for that. No word yet whether that would mean Lorenzo's will continue under new ownership or if the restaurant itself will leave completely. So we'll just have to stay tuned for some updates on that.
Yep, so something to watch going forward. Going next to a new America 250 celebration to add to the calendar.
Yes, so this is the year of America's 250 celebrations. We're celebrating the anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Already some smaller events going on, but if you're making note, there is a new, bigger event being planned for Memorial Day weekend over at East Goshen Park. This is a joint event called America 250 at Goshen. It's a joint event between West Goshen Township and East Goshen Township. It's going to feature a 1700-style town square with a Revolutionary War military encampment and weapons displays. There will be live music. There's going to be an opportunity to sign the Declaration of Independence. There will also be moon bounces for the kids. And then after that, there was also a parade, a drone show, and fireworks. So that's taking place on May 30th. The event will run from 3 to 9 p.m. The parade is scheduled for 5 p.m. And the drone show and fireworks will follow after. I'm assuming maybe once the sun goes down, so those are more visible. According to East Goshen Rec Director Jason Lang, they are expecting around a crowd of 6,000 or more for this event, so that's a big one.
And I know there's a lot going on in Philadelphia, so nice to see that there's some local events as well. So that was America 250, and then the last quick update before we look ahead, Henderson's soccer team taking home Sportsmanship Award.
Yeah, I thought this was a nice one to shout out. We always often hear about players and parents behaving badly at athletic events, so nice to see this from the Henderson boys soccer team. They recently earned the Sportsmanship Award from the Chessmont League game officials. So coming from the referees themselves, praising them for demonstrating respect, integrity, and positive conduct throughout the season. They said this is an honor reflects the values of the program consistently displayed on the field while also highlighting a successful season of hard work and teamwork. So a shout out to them. That's, I think, a nice honor.
Yeah, and I know for me, playing sports growing up, that was something that was always emphasized, the sportsmanship aspect. So shout out to the Henderson soccer team. And then in the closing minutes, I know we had some events to look ahead to. Yeah,
so it is getting a little bit quieter right here. So just a things to point out. So going into Valentine's weekend, Levante's Brewing is hosting a Sweets and Sips event at their Westchester Tap Room. These are desserts from Johnnery, which is a local, well, that's not local here, but it's a bakery. And then they're going to be paired with Levante beers. The seating is limited and tickets are required. So if you really want to do that, I would get on it. It's tonight at 6 p.m. La Chic Boutique here on West Gay Street is having a Galentine's event. That's from 12 to 4 p.m. on the 14th. There will be a limited edition hoodie, some free gifts with purchase, and cocktails for anyone. And that's just a couple. There's a lot of events, kind of smaller events being held at restaurants and boutiques around here. So if you're interested, I would just look them up and see what's going on. Also looking ahead, next week, Uptown Theater is welcoming Ruben Studdard of American Idol fame. He'll be here on the February 18th at 7:30. Tickets are required for that event. Then on February 21st, Westchester Parks and Recs is holding a father-daughter princess party. That's being held at the Borough Hall from 10:30 to noon. Again, registration is required. Costumes are encouraged. And then on February 22nd through March 1st is Westchester Restaurant Week. There's various locations participating. Excuse me. I think I don't have the numbers. We'll pull that before we get there, but just pencil that in on your calendar. It'll be multi-course meals from $40 to $60 per person, depending on the location.
So lots of things coming up, as you mentioned, Restaurant Week in a few weeks, and some Valentine's Day events as well. So that takes us to the end of the show. Thank you, Kara, as always, and you can find the podcast of this episode and all episodes at 953wche.com. Thank you all for listening. We'll talk to you next week.